Good evening, everyone. My name is Aaron Janik. I'll be serving as President Pro Tem in President Kostik's absence tonight. And with that, I'd like to call to order the Thursday, February 16, 2023 Board of Education regular meeting for the Lincoln Way Community High School District 210 to order. Please stand, if you're able, for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Linda, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Janik.
Here.
Ms. Janice Doyle. Mr. Kirking.
Here.
Mr. Lacine.
Here.
Mr. Lucetti. Mr. Kostik.
Here.
Mrs. Stokes.
All right, thank you. We have a quorum, and with that, we'll move to public comment. We have one member of the public signed up to speak tonight, Nazir Hassan. Yes. Oh, apologize.
They'll turn it off.
Testing?
Yep.
Okay. President Kostik and distinguished board members, thank you for allowing me to address you at this meeting. Friends and family, thank you for your support. My name is Nazar Hassan. As an administrator myself, I know we sometimes don't get the entire story from our subordinates. I will present to the board facts supported with evidence. In September 2021, my son Ibrahim, a junior at Lincoln Way Central, unexpectedly lost his life in a horrific accident. The weeks leading up to his death were plagued with confessions by him that he was being bullied and harassed. In the wake of his passing, we searched endlessly for answers in order to make sense of his tragedy. The weeks leading up to his death were plagued with confessions by him of being at the receiving end of racial jokes and remarks. He named specific people. The information was relayed to the school through a third party because he wanted to keep it discreet for fear of retaliation. By the end of the first week, he was receiving phone calls and text messages from his classmates about being bullied. I asked, how did that information get out to the student body? Nonetheless, I would like to thank all the teachers that came to his wake and consoled my family. They all had nothing but great things to say about him. Why wouldn't they? He was an honor student, a star athlete, and a beautiful human being. What we didn't expect was the lack of empathy from the school administration. To date, not one person from the administration has reached out to our family and offered their condolences. They claim they did, but again, we have evidence they didn't. They also claim that no bullying occurred. In fact, it did. In fact, he was bullied by his coach, Coach Torella, who labeled him by his religion, not by who he was as a person. What was done? Nothing. A student recalled how Coach Torella and his former teammate, how Coach Torella would refer to Ibrahim as Allah, not by his real name. Even when the information was presented to the school attorney, nothing was done. From the FOIA I filed, I discovered the staff questioned him twice on the bullying of my son, to which Coach Torella claimed he kept things loose with his players and didn't recall the allegation. Since then, we have been told the bullying by him continues. In fact, recently he was overheard referencing tacos to a young Latina. Our son was also missing personal property from his lockers. The school claimed they didn't have any of his property. In fact, they did. It wasn't until specific demands were made that the items were produced. Even though there was an earlier claim by the school that he didn't have lockers, but when presented with proof, they related the lockers existed, however, they were empty. To date, his personal belongings from his hallway locker and gym locker have yet to have been returned to his family. Rather, provide us with his items, the school would prefer to throw them away and hide his existence if he was never a student at their school. One example of his school photos were eventually delivered to us by the portrait company directly, stating they were deeply sorry to hear of our loss, while also disclosing how Lincoln Way Central had returned his school photos back to the photographer. My family and I have a simple ask. Hold then Principal Provost, Coach Torella, and any staff member accountable for their actions. Do not rely on the internal investigation or report Principal Provost may have provided to you. In addition to holding the administration accountable, we would ask the board to revisit the bullying policy and procedures, especially for reporting and making necessary changes to protect individuals to come forward with allegations. I call on the school board to assign an independent investigator to report directly to the board these concerns. Please help us put closure to this matter and honor my son with the contributions he made to the school. As parents, please understand what my family has been through. We elect you guys. I've voted for some of yous. You represent us. They don't represent us. The administration does. They don't represent us. They answer to you. My only son, I have a son. My only son that was getting ready to graduate this June. I was planning on retiring with him. He was a good boy. He's in heaven now. I know that. I'm not blaming the school for his death, but certain things occurred while he was alive at the school. Now, if you look back at my history, I served for 2 years as the treasurer on the Booster Club, raised a lot of money for the athletic system. We were dedicated to the school. We were completely dedicated to the school. Thank you for your time.
On behalf of the board, Mr. Hassan, you do have our condolences for the loss of your son. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and move forward with the rest of the agenda now. We have the capital improvements plan update.
Folks, I don't want to interrupt you, but we're going to be going, my family and friends. We don't want to.
No, yeah, understand. Thank you. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. For the capital projects update tonight, the board approved design and bid work for several projects in October. We finalized specs with DLA and we did go out to bid. The projects were grouped as you see here in the memo during in the presentation portion of the meeting tonight, and we have already planned pre-funding of $5 million. Later in the agenda, you'll see action items for contract awards in each of those areas, should the board choose to approve them. For each of those agenda items, DLA has provided a letter outlining their recommendations, and bid tabulations are also included. With the bid results, DLA fees, and a 5% contingency, final costs total $5,867,210. And at this time, we recommend moving forward with these projects in their entirety. Now, why do we make that recommendation if we've pre-funded $5 million? We believe that none of these projects should be delayed more than 1 year, and we really think they need to be done now. These are obviously, many of them, safety and security related, and costs in each area will be higher going back out to bid next year. Fortunately, our last financial forecast projected a $2.75 million pre-funding transfer as part of the FY24 budget. To complete the summer's work as we recommend tonight, that pre-funding amount would be reduced accordingly during next fiscal year. This might mean we have a shorter project list the following summer, but we have time to see how this year wraps up. As a reminder, the board did initiate a June 30th retroactive transfer last year to move additional funding ahead of time. If we close FY23 with a higher surplus, the board would have that option again this year. If not, we simply know we need a lighter summer in '24.
All right, thanks. Any questions for Mike?
I do just want to point out, one of the reasons we're able to do this is because of the 5-cast and the work we've put into forecasting to know pretty closely where we'll be. You know, we've been able to pre-fund these last 3 years, but as we said, given the circumstances, our fear is that costs will be even higher if we were to go next year. We do know we'll have enough money for sure next year to cover this cost, and then wait and see the following summer with the shorter list. So, Mike, good synopsis. Thank you.
So for the, just question, so we're looking at 5.8 this year, and then we're gonna reduce the amount we're pre-funding for next year by that additional 800,000?
Yes.
Okay.
So what I would suggest doing, and again, this is from October's forecast, so that number will be refined and change a little bit as we get the FY '24 budget put together. But just take that 2.75 million, Aaron. What I would do is still suggest that we budget that as a transfer in the FY '24 budget, all of it. But instead of waiting until June 30th, because right now that was to pre-fund summer of '24, what I would recommend is the difference here, we actually set a pre-funding, we can do it in August. I'd like the money to be sitting in Fund 60 so we can still pay it out of Fund 60 for this summer's work. And then as those invoices come in, it'll be there. And so the amount in the budget would stay the same. It's just that we do two separate transfers, one this fall to pay invoices from the summer. And then the remaining amount that's going to fund summer of '24 projects would be the reduced amount, yes.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
on this list of projects, the last two, which is over $2 million,
Yes.
there's no way that'll be done this year. So is there something we could do with that 2 million? I mean, that'll end up being a 24 project. Elevators have got to be in 40-plus weeks, and that equipment's probably 50-plus.
I'm going to defer to Chuck a little bit to talk about timelines and
Because it
lead
hasn't been
times
ordered,
and
right?
such.
None of that's been ordered, right? Yeah, so I mean, it's just, and I mean, we'll order, I mean, I'm not saying don't do it, I'm just saying that.
Yep.
And every, I say it all the time, just get the order in and it'll be here, but it's gonna end up being a 24 project.
It,
The elevator modernization, if we get it in right away, we should be able to complete it.
Oh, they think they can get the, because it's, okay, they're not changing the car, they're just doing the upgrade on the electronics.
Elevator modernization is not
Okay,
as far off. Mechanical
yeah,
it's a crapshoot.
yeah, it's probably 50 weeks for the equipment,
Don't get in for this year,
correct,
we're gonna
right.
take the jinx.
Absolutely, I know it's not I'm not saying it's a, right, the price will lock in, but I'm saying that's $2 million, it's not gonna be done that, I mean, $2 million for a year, I mean,
So to your point, we're not gonna have to pay it out until a year
Correct.
from now. So
So-
can we free that money up to do something else?
well, no, not just,
No?
is something, where does happens that money for the year?
well,
Just
what,
sits
Is that a rollover budget?
what we
price?
would do is we would just allocate it into Fund 60 ahead of time.
And it would
So
just
it's
sit.
there when, yeah, because some of these now, and as you can see here, and obviously some of the DLA fees are upfront. But also when it comes to that bid, and I don't know that, I don't have the specs memorized on when the different portions of money would be owed. Obviously, most of it, Rich, would be at the end. You're
Yeah, right.
absolutely right, but at least the money is sitting there.
Oh, no, right.
And then if some smaller pieces come along the way or portions of it need to be paid out for work completed, the money's there. Yep.
Any
I mean,
other
I was just getting at that, it's really not gonna be paid out this year.
Right,
It'd be out of next year.
You're talking about from a
Yep.
cash flow perspective.
Yes.
From a-
Right,
yeah.
what Michael's trying to say is, set the money aside.
Yeah.
So that way it's earmarked, it's done, and then
Yes.
somebody doesn't inadvertently spend it for something else in the budget.
That is correct. Yeah, the timelines we can't control as much, but what we do
Oh, no, I
have the
get
right
it,
to
right.
control is, and we want to be transparent in that by approving these, we are locking in the prices now because they will only go up, as you mentioned, and the timelines will only go out longer. So, to Joe's point about earmarking it now, that also gives us the flexibility to look at the FY '24 budget, and if that pre-funding needs to be reduced and adjusted, we know that proactively now. And as we refine that '24 budget in the next few months, we'll know that going in. So that plays a role in the recommendation tonight.
Yeah, I'm good.
I just have one real quick question. The general modeling, I know I got it here, you printed it. Can you give us a little bit of description of what the general modeling is?
That will be the main office here at Lincoln Way Central. Actually, not the main office, I'm sorry, SSO, for when you come in that entrance. So those offices are very, very small. In fact, they're really, you can't have a student and their parents in any of those offices. So we will be remodeling those offices and going down one further into the front. That's something that's definitely needed. Carpet, we have carpet in different areas, and then those curtains, Joe, are the original curtains in the field house here at Central, correct? And so those are 26 to 30 years old. So we'll be replacing those. The bars at the bottom have been torn out. It's their past life. Any other projects in this? I know it's the main office. That includes furniture, carpet, everything for the renovation for SSO. And then the curtains in the field house. Anything else in there? That's primarily it, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, we'll move ahead to the consent agenda. We have the approval of the regular meeting minutes of January 19th, 2023, approval of the closed meeting minutes of January 19th, 2023, approval of the District 210 advisory meeting minutes of October 24th, 2022, approval of the payrolls of January 20th, 2023, and February 3rd, 2023, personnel reports, out-of-state travel. Would anyone like any of these pulled from the consent agenda? All right. If there are no requests to pull anything, I'll need a motion to approve the consent agenda. All right, we have a motion and a second. Linda, can you please call the vote? Or open the vote, I should say.
The vote is open. Could you please call a Secretary Pro Tem as well?
Oh, I'd like to nominate Mr. Kirking as Secretary Pro Tem tonight. Congratulations, Joe. Yeah.
The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
All right, moving on to the action items. We have the presentation of invoices for January 20th, 2023 through February 16th, 2023.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the invoices from January 20th, 2023 through February 16th, 2023 in the amount of $3,052,487.31 as presented.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. All right, any questions on the invoices? I just had one, the water bill for Village of New Lenox for Lincoln Way West and Lincoln Way Central. Did we finally figure out?
Yes, and that is attached in the Buildings and Grounds report. So if you want to take a moment, utilities and contractual maintenance update. We provided an update on the west water. Work was completed on 125, but we won't see it because the billing's in arrears. Central found another leak the evening of 2:15, and then we've shut everything off. Eventually, we'll be digging outside here at Central, and then there's a Nicor gas at East. But yes, the water, we're in pretty good shape right now, Chuck, correct? Right. Yep.
All right, thank you. Any other questions on the invoices? All right, hearing none. Linda, can you open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
All right, moving along. Next up, we have the treasurer's report for January 2023.
Revenues of $3.7 million in January and expenses of $9.5 million. That includes the expensing of the outstanding medical insurance liability I mentioned last month, so our books would show a more accurate year-to-date standing. Cash balance on January 31st was $28.2 million. Revenues and expenses are both on course this year. Last month, Mr. Lucetti noted purchase services were trending ahead compared to the previous December. And as you can see here, budget versus YTD, still a few percentage points ahead of time, but I did dig into this, and it's primarily due to timing differences. We had some service expenses early this fiscal year, simply making that YTD percentage higher. We are still within budget. Regarding benefits, we trued up, as I mentioned, the YTD for medical claims, so you can see where benefits show a little high. However, some good news, we finally had a lower month for our latest Blue Cross Blue Shield bill, which was just under $790,000. Investments average rate of return is 3.83%. We are approaching the typical low point for cash balances during the fiscal year, so we don't have a lot of room to ladder large investments. Some more good news, the rate on a 3-month Treasury bill as of Tuesday was 4.56%. But our next bank SDA, which is our sweep account, and that only has a 1-day liquidity notice required, was at 4.60. So we're benefiting. T-bills are lagging a little bit, but we have a pretty nice rate of return right now, and we are keeping our liquidity. Based on how CPI came in and the March 22 Fed predictions, we will hold through the end of this month, and then we'll see where cash balances stand. Cash variance this month was small but positive. Non-tax revenues a little higher than expected, and then the expenses were within $50,000 of historical norms. Looking ahead, I believe we should be in good shape for the month of February. Again, I will note, as I mentioned last month, I may bring an interfund loan request to you at the March meeting to boost the education and O&M funds a bit until tax revenues come in later this spring.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions? All right, hearing none. I need a motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Linda, can you open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
All right, next up, we have the student activities report for January 2023.
Report is included in your backup materials for the month ended January 31st, 2023. The activity fund balance is $2,161,981, revenues of $148,275, and expenditures of $243,724. Two negative accounts, Skills USA at Central and East. They're currently in a fundraiser. They bought the item early, are now selling raffle tickets. So this will be replenished by the end of next month, and then those proceeds will go to send them to the national competition.
All right, any questions on the student activities report? What was the item, do you know?
What's it called, Kelly? Is that a razor or no, she's not here. She's off tonight. What's the name? It's an ATV. It's a big fancy ATV, and
Okay.
they've had it out in front of each of the schools on alternating mornings and after school, but they've been quite successful in their
Buy your raffle tickets.
$10 a piece, yes. I think it's a razor is what they call it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, do I have a
Rat-
motion
rat
to
driving,
approve
no.
the student activities report? Second? Or do I have a second, I should say? All right. Motion and a second. Can you please open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Next up, we have the second reading for the elementary transportation intergovernmental agreement.
I'll speak to both of the next two items here. The IGAs up for approval tonight are with Manhattan and Union. Both districts have confirmed that their boards will be approving these as well. The lease agreement for the buses is for 2 years because the per bus pricing, was better than for a single year. With the volatility of the vehicle market still very much present, I did want to stick with the 2-year and not pursue that single-year extension, although the IGAs are 1 year. At last month's meeting, the board did bring up a good question about asset liability mismatches. So in other words, if for any reason we don't continue the IGA practice in the future, we don't want District 210 to be left with buses still under lease. At this time, next year, we have a 5-year lease coming due, as well as a smaller set of extended buses coming due. And so if we found ourselves needing fewer buses a year from now, we would simply lease or extend fewer of them like we did 12 months ago. So we will not be stuck with any additional buses given the current IGA cycle.
All right, any questions on the IGA?
Just transportation in general, it's always my second favorite topic. I read through all this, makes sense, I get it. I would just encourage the district as a whole to really evaluate this topic. It's an opinion, but I don't think we truly capture the costs, not just financial costs, but all the costs that go associated with providing transportation for all the districts that we do it for, including ourselves. I mean, it's a business within the district. And the trouble over the last 3 to 5 years with staffing and a lot of the other things that are going on, just one person's opinion becomes a distraction and takes away from administrators that could be focused more on other priorities. And so we've had this conversation for several years, and we've had to tackle you have to do first things first. And now maybe we're down to the 7th things. And so I won't be here when it happens, but it would be one of the things that as you're doing planning and everything else, now it seems that the fiscal house is in order, the education, arts, sciences, everything is chugging along. This has always kind of bothered me because someone adopted this as a business model that was going to save the community, and it does a great service. I'm not saying that if it was evaluated and assessed appropriately, it still should be in place, but we've never taken the time to stop and say, is this the right thing to do, especially in the model that we're doing it under? We're a school district, not a transportation organization. Okay, enough said.
And I think it's an excellent point, and just this week, First Student came and presented to District 843, because it's a similar setup, and so they presented their findings. We've encouraged the Executive Director of 843 to look at options of possibly going to bid, and we spent a lot of time this year, and you're right, Joe, I think over the next year or two, that's the next step. It's not likely sustainable in our current model. Just our use of First Student, or what do they call their routing system this year, saved us 9 routes, just bringing in the people who do it every single day across the country. And so, excellent point, and something we're gonna focus on.
I just think, I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying it should go away.
No, just
because there
the
are
model.
some pros.
Absolutely.
To be able to control factors such as
Yes.
drivers,
Yep,
background checks,
absolutely.
quality. Those were all excellent things to be able to control. It's just I've watched this pass through the district in multiple times, and because you're sitting there, it's become a distraction of yours. It's become a distraction of other people that have been involved in this, that those resources could have been pointed maybe in areas that could have provided
No, that's a very good
an
point.
enhanced experience,
Yep,
that's all.
very good.
All right, any other questions or comments about the IGA? All right, hearing none, Linda, can you, actually, we need a motion first, I believe.
I'll move.
All right, thank you, Joe. Do I have a second? Second. All right, now we have a motion and a second. Can you please open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
All right, next up, we have the second reading for the school bus lease agreement now. Nothing to add, all right. Any questions?
Ditto.
Yeah, ditto. All right, that was easy. Need a motion for the
Just
school bus?
one real quick question. So in the budgeting process, the 2-year, the proposal that we have in here that you're recommending, that was what was budgeted for, or is being budgeted for?
It is what is being budgeted for, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, now I would like a motion, please. All right, Linda, can you please open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Next up on the agenda is the intergovernmental agreement for the use of Lincoln Way North High School facilities by the Frankfurt Square Park District.
This is an update to where we currently are with the use of Frankfurt Square Park District utilizing the facilities at Lincoln Way North and our shared agreement. This is something we're going to continue to monitor as we move through the next year or two. Currently, they are using the field house, the dance studio, the main gym, and then also the athletic fields. So it's still a use to the community at really very little additional cost to us. They do the cleaning, and we are still providing most of the maintenance, but this is an updated agreement. Just wanted to make sure we had it on record as hopefully over the years we look to examine other potential uses or agreements as we move forward. Obviously, we're still at a standstill, but maybe something will materialize over time.
Any questions on the IGA for North?
I've got a quick one, if I could. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
We've got an escape clause from this. If
That was my question.
we're so blessed that during the course of this agreement over the next year, there is in fact a buyer that wants to close immediately, can this be terminated?
Yes, correct. Yes,
Perfect.
either party in the IGAs can, correct.
Wonderful.
Or
That's
someone
my only
could just
question.
personally buy it out.
Yeah, very good.
Good question,
I'm
Joe.
an
That's what I was
optimist,
going to ask.
What can I tell you?
All right, any other questions on this? All right, hearing none, can I get a motion and a second?
So moved.
All right, Linda, can you please open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
All right, next up, we have the roof replacement bid.
I'm happy to speak to any of these individually, but the presentation kind of summarized what we wanted to talk about.
All right, any questions on the roof bid?
Yes, we had 4 bidders for this project, yes.
Did all of them meet the responsible bidder requirements that we have in place?
Yep.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the roof replacement bid?
Second.
All right, Linda, can you please open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Next up, we have the general remodeling bid. Nothing to add, Mike? Any questions on the general remodeling bid? You know, I just had one. I noticed earlier when we approved the bills, there was a payment to Metropolitan Corporation. We're approving Metropolitan Corporation tonight. We haven't already paid them for work they haven't done yet. That was for last.
That was the final payout from last summer.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that
Yep.
was clear.
That's a good question. Thank you.
I see that there's 2 alternates, and so which one are we, I guess, going for? Alternate 1?
Deidre, can you hit your button,
Oh,
please?
I'm sorry. I see we have 2 alternate, alternate 1 and alternate 2.
Yeah,
Could
so,
you explain?
so what we're approving here is, the way that this was done initially is that the elevators were part of this bidding. Correct, Chuck? And that's alternate 1 was the elevators. But given the price points there being higher than what we anticipated, what we chose to move forward with DLA in a recommendation was to approve the base and the alternate, and that is the SSO remodel that Dr. Tingley spoke about, and the field house curtains, et cetera, and then pull the alternate. And so we're not asking that to be approved as part of general remodeling, and we bid it separately. And fortunately for us, that proved worthwhile. As you can see, the award come the elevator bid is significantly lower. It's under $300,000, so that was a smart decision. And so what we're asking recommendations here tonight are the base and alternate 2.
Oh, okay.
Probably hindsight 2020, shouldn't have put the elevator work in the general remodeling bid, because the elevator companies just wanted to bid on that portion.
Yep.
and more competitive.
Any other questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the general remodeling bid? Need a second.
Second.
All right, Linda, can you open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is 4 ayes and 1 abstain from Mr. Janik. The motion passes.
Next up, we have the paving replacement bid. Nothing to add, Mike? Has Advantage done work for us before? I can't recall.
Yes.
I know this is a little bit after the fact, but we're doing whatever necessary financial due diligence to make sure that they can perform. I mean, a couple of these bids are starting to get, like, you know, there's double-digit percentages difference between the bidders.
Oh, sure. The volatility in bidding, and as you can see here, and even from our budgeting with DLA, in terms of where we thought roofing would come in, it was a little high. Paving here was very low. But yes, DLA has worked with Chuck and vetted this pretty thoroughly.
Do you know if we put any mix specs in our bid requirements?
What is that?
Mix specs, the type of mix that goes into the,
Mix, MIX?
yes, sorry. Any other questions?
I do. So, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I do. So the question I have is, see, there's alternate 1, 2, and 3. And so tonight, the motion or what the request is that we're accepting all alternates in addition to the base bid as well for
For the paving project, that
paving
is,
pro-
yes, for the paving project, that's correct. One of the things that I think Chuck did a nice job on working with Brian Scully and DLA was because we weren't sure how these results would come in, given the volatility of some of the, sectors. Bidding it as alternates gave us the flexibility to award all aspects or a part of it. And I think that's Chuck gets the credit for that, and that, in this case, with paving, panned out well for us. And so we're asking for approval for all.
Okay, I see. And so it was Advantage who actually won the bid on all of them, even though they were divided out. Is that correct? I mean, yeah, Advantage paving. Okay. I just want to make sure I'm reading it properly. But you did this so just in case maybe one would get one aspect of it and we still would end up with the lowest bids.
If the bids had come in high, what it gives us is the flexibility to maybe move forward with some sections of the paving and
Okay.
hold off on others for another year. But obviously, this work was put together because these are all the areas in most need. And given that they came in so far under budget, that's why we're asking for the full approval tonight. But yes.
And then I have one more question. And this is just, I don't know a lot about paving, but the disparity between 157,000 and 215, do you think it's access to materials or what?
To be honest, I don't know, and I don't know if Dr. Tingley or Mr. Sheen and Chuck can speak to this more, but I can tell you from my prior experiences, I've never seen across the board, across many types of projects, there are wider gaps between the bidders than I'm accustomed to seeing as well. And I think that there's a lot of reasons in terms of supply chain and the economy right now, but I can't speak to the specifics.
Okay, all right.
Supply chain economy, and then if they have other projects already on the books.
Yep.
You know, at times, maybe the low bidder has not yet secured the projects for the summer, and they may be looking to get on the books, but.
Okay.
But that's. And a lot of this is. Go ahead, Rich.
A lot of this is the contractors are waiting to see when everybody's plate is full. That's why it's so important that we bid as early as we can. Because as soon as they realize everybody's plate is full, we're gonna pay 10% more.
Any additional questions? All right, hearing none, can I get a motion to approve the paving replacement bid? Linda, can you open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is 4 ayes and 1 abstain from Mr. Janik. The motion passes.
Next up, we have the mechanical replacement bid.
And just as you guys are looking at the bid tabs, if I may anticipate a question, the base bid A, B, and C, remember these were the pool packs, or I'm calling them pool packs, the humidity control units in the pools at Central and East. The way we bid this was for one, the other, or both from an economy of scale standpoint, but for budget reasons, you can see how expensive these are. And so we're recommending just moving forward with one this year, and I can tell you right now, probably in the next years, in '24, we'll have the other one, so.
Which school would this be for? Do we know? East, okay. Couldn't remember.
That's kind of like what I was getting at, and you probably said it better than I did. So I mean, that category is probably one of the worst categories in that market. Can we get that out early, and we still probably wouldn't have it in '24, the second one?
So, Rich, our thought was as we close this fiscal year and we see, as to Mike spoke earlier about what that transfer might be, our thought would be to go back in August and go ahead and bid, not for
okay.
that next summer, but the summer. And
If
knowing that we've
we
already
got it out
that.
before September, maybe mid-September.
Yeah, it's ready to go.
We might,
The following summer.
you might still be able to get it installed,
That's
which
the
is when that was gonna be installed.
You're probably correct. And that's the nice thing about a June 30th look back. And if we have the opportunity to transfer the additional monies, as Dr. Tingley said, then we could break from the normal October, November, and for this one project
Yeah, right.
that we know about, we can get out early. Yep.
Yeah.
Roofs and parking lots, we will be in pretty good shape to not have to do anything that following summer, knowing that 2 million is going to be earmarked towards this. We're gonna have to do this.
Well, and the cost of not doing it is,
Correct.
yeah, it's gonna destroy the inside of that room.
So why was East chosen?
Chuck can speak to this in a little bit more detail, but I think in conversations with DLA, although it is more money, in terms of the specifications and the nuances related to installing it there at East, they felt like it was a better bang for the buck, so to speak, based on how the specifications. They thought there may be more disparity between Central and East than there was. Am I saying that right, Chuck, or?
The reason for the cost difference from East and Central is because the East has to have some structural work done over a flat roof and steel and additional things that have to be done. The Central one will go on the roof that already has a structure to hold it.
So, but why East first versus Central? Just
Because if the East one now costs more, obviously. Next year, we already know there's going to be a 10% or 15% increase in the unit, but there will be an additional increase in the amount of steel and structure that's going to be needed to improve that.
How about ongoing maintenance with something like this? Once it's bid and put in by that firm, do they pick up maintenance, whether it's preventative or anything? So that's in this bid?
There will be an additional maintenance contract after the maintenance warranty is up.
And that was that included in this bid, or will that be then let out?
Additional to, the first year we'll have, there's a 5-year
Okay.
maintenance agreement, then after that it'll be additional to.
Okay. And most likely it'll be picked up by the firm that's doing the work now, or would that be something separate?
It can absolutely be picked up by the company that did it.
So that would, but that would be the preference, would be you did the work, you're gonna maintain it going forward?
It's actually gonna be the owner rep, I mean, the
Manufacturer.
whoever the equipment rep is, kinda like our chillers, right? Right, so it wouldn't actually be the installing contractor, it's gonna be the manufacturer, so it'd be like going to GM with your GM, going to Ford with your Ford, so it'll be done by whoever by whoever built the equipment.
And so,
It'll be OEM rep.
okay, so now you're gonna take me down a rabbit hole here. You know I love rabbit holes. So, we did the assessment based on price. Did we do any assessment based on the type of equipment they're putting in?
It's by spec, right,
Okay.
there'll be,
But, so, to use your analogy, I mean, is the difference between a GM, Ford, and Chrysler, or are they all gonna be installing GMs?
so the
Didn't
contractor
DLA
has-
would have
yeah,
gone through that process for us.
I understand, but my point is, if they're a low-cost provider based on the equipment they're putting in, is that because there's a qualitative factor on a go-forward basis? Or is it everything's at the same quality level?
it's pretty, I'm okay with that.
Have to meet the same
Yeah,
spec.
right. It's,
So,
yeah,
4 tires, 2 doors. a
especially that
radio.
category.
Okay,
It has to produce.
okay.
Right.
I guess what I'm trying to avoid is penny wise, pound foolish, I guess.
Right.
Okay.
Any additional questions on?
AMS, we've used them before. Are they local? Who are they? Where are they out of?
Right here, they're I-55 and 83. Yeah, they're a pretty big company.
Yeah, I believe we've done work with them before. I don't know the details of AMS, but
Okay, good, all right.
All right. If there are no additional questions, I need a motion to approve the mechanical replacement bid.
So move.
All right, Linda, can you please open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is 4 ayes and 1 abstain for Mr. Janik. The motion passes.
Next up, we have the elevator modernization bid. I probably butchered modernization, but
I'll make one comment on this. The winning bidder, Logic. DLA vetted their company pretty thoroughly. We've not done work with Logic specifically before. References came back very positive, and they did give us a cashier's check, which DLA was very happy with in lieu of a bid bond, so that was fine. And they're just hungry for business, and so they came very aggressively. But again, the references came back quite positively with other clients that they've used. So new to us, but vetted by DLA, and our recommendation tonight.
for those of people watching or in the room, can you explain what the cashier's check is in lieu of a bid bond?
Sure. So the bid bond typically is, there's usually a percentage that if a contractor will, let's say that you approve it tonight in February, and something happens between now and May when they would start the work and they wanted to walk away, there's kind of no skin in the game for them. The cashier's check, they literally just brought a check, which the bond, like, we don't have the bond piece of paperwork. And so that was a question that I had for DLA is preference, does that matter? But, DLA was happy with that, and having the skin in the game is standard practice, and I'm responding generally as well, that's true for all of these bids, is that skin in the game is required.
So if something happened, we just cash the cashier's check.
That's correct.
Whereas going to the bond company to tell them we need the money that they're putting up for their contractor.
It's actually more efficient
More
for us.
efficient.
Yep,
So we're physically holding the check?
we are.
Why wouldn't we deposit the check?
Oh, we will.
Oh.
I mean, do I have it on, we have it on site is what I mean.
Well,
Yeah,
What your point was, I just wanted to make sure I understood
Well,
the
right,
process.
right.
Okay, so if they were awarded the bid, then you'll deposit the check?
correct.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Sorry if
Just
I
wanted to-
misunderstood. No,
Far be it for me to ask the obvious one, but, okay. Where is this company located at, since they're new to us? Does anybody know?
good question. I do not know their town where their business is located.
All right, hearing no further questions, can I get a motion to approve the elevator modernization bid? Why can't I say that word right? Do I have a second?
Let Joe second.
All right. Linda, can you open the vote?
The vote is open. The vote is unanimous. The motion passes.
Next up, under informational items, we have the report of the Lincoln Way Special Education District 843 Governing Board meetings held December 20th, 2022.
I don't have much to add, but we've also had a meeting in January as well. I guess those minutes weren't provided. And so,
I don't see them.
yeah, so.
It did say
perhaps-
meetings, though. It said meetings, so maybe they were supposed to be in there.
But we can put that on the agenda next month, put January and February. I wasn't available for the December meeting, but the January meeting. So I don't have much to add, but they've been moving along. They're having transportation issues, but I think they're trying to manage them as best as they possibly can with their population, so.
Thank you. Any, next up is FOIA requests. Any FOIA requests this month?
There are two, but they were just dealt with the contracting, and they're in your backup materials.
And those are typical FOIA
Typical
requests
this
when
time
we
of
do.
year,
Yep.
correct. Mhm.
We have the buildings and grounds report next.
Included in your backup materials, then also Chuck provided just an update on some of the water issues and some of the billing that we've seen here recently.
And we have the community relations report.
Also included in your backup materials for your review.
Asset of the month.
Asset of the month for March. Personal power. Kids feel that they have control over many things that happen to them. Give kids age-appropriate choices at stages of their life at school. Talk with students about times when they felt powerless and times when they felt powerful, and then what made the difference. In the community, recognize and affirm young people who demonstrate good judgment.
Nothing for District 210 advisory.
Nothing at this time. We'll have updates to the handbook at the next meeting.
And then we have the quarterly insurance report.
Mike, go ahead with a quick update there.
Sure. Just summarizing, that's with our partners at Stum Insurance. A question came up during open enrollment. We did not increase our dental rates, but as you can see in this report, we're actually trending very favorably. That remains financially stable for us. And then this medical piece, it's just displaying, I don't need to rehash what I've already kind of communicated in terms of claims running high. But please do remember that one thing we put in place for calendar year '23 was that we lowered the stop loss, just to control the volatility month in and month out, and we did just have a good month. So happy to take any questions if you guys have them.
So the deficits are climbing in the medical each year, it looks like. I mean, how are we looking to address that, I guess?
Well, the claims have been high. We've had some significantly, as I believe Dr. Tingley said last month, we've had some pretty significant health issues and large claims. And so it's hard to predict all of those large claims. But what I will tell you is that we've adjusted premiums accordingly to the degree that we can for all of us. And then from a budgeting standpoint, as I mentioned, we increased this year's fiscal year budget. And again, the data you're looking at here is calendar year. And so we've increased this fiscal year's budget, and that deficit is much smaller on a budget standpoint. And then next year, we'll increase it again.
Any other questions on the report? No? Okay. All right, thank you. And then we have the first reading for Board of Education meeting schedule 2023-2024.
Yes, including your backup material is just a first reading. If there are any suggestions or changes, please get those to me. We'll look to approve those at the next meeting. Not everyone will have to put these in their calendar.
I think you should go to weekly. Just a thought.
Rich, I think last year you missed that first meeting, so just note August 10th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The August meeting is a week early.
Yeah,
I've yet to make an August meeting.
No.
I do it every year.
I'll remind you. Then we have the legislative report.
Just wanted to include the budget, the governor's proposed budget is out. Actually, will be very fair to us if it's passed in terms of funding. So it's a pretty positive move. One move to help attract teachers, that won't necessarily impact us, but maybe it will down the line. So just wanted to provide that information, and we'll see where it goes.
Saw he was looking to add about 350 million in evidence-based funding, is that correct?
A little bit more,
A little bit
Mike.
more?
Yeah, so the provision, what is supposed to happen, the mechanism in evidence-based funding is it's supposed to be 350 million statewide added every year. I think this year is even higher than that, but there, 2 or 3 years ago, it was zero.
Sure.
You know, so obviously, but this budget's favorable, and we still teeter on that tier 1 versus tier 2 level, so hopefully we will see an increase next year.
All right, Superintendent's District Report.
Included in your backup materials, back in October, we provided an update on our ESSER funds, where we were. And so here's a revised update. So it's a memo from Dr. Fury. It has where our ESSER 3 budget is going, whether or not it's learning loss. I will provide to the board the link to the Illinois State Board of Education that has a tracker. You can compare us to other districts. I've been, over the last 2 weeks, both in regional, state, and national conferences, where one of the main topics of discussion is the ESSER spending and what's going to happen when those funds are audited, and what districts are putting up to 84% into salaries and benefits. We have not done that. If you remember, part of our presentation to Standard & Poor's and to Moody's to improve our bond rating was to illustrate where we were spending this money specifically, and that it was not going, the majority was not going to be an ongoing expense. We have not agreed to any sort of curriculum. There's been no deals. It's just, here's how the money has to be spent. You must prove that that's where you spent it. So as you can see as an update, our summer program, those are the freshmen that fail algebra or English. That pays for the summer school for those students. We can report that those students that were in that bridge program last summer are predominantly, they're very successful right now in English 2 and geometry. We have just a few students who are struggling in geometry, but we're going to get them through. But the majority of those students, that boot camp helped them. They've done much better. We've done some before and after school tutoring programs. We've provided an SAT program, Excel Edge, to all of our juniors. We've done our PSAT testing that the board has approved to address our learning loss. Our Accelis is our online platform for our at-risk students and remediation that the board's aware of. School Links is our career counseling SEL online platform. Internet and Wi-Fi, just $3,000, but for those students that were in need, we provided Wi-Fi to their homes. And then the big chunk of this, the $792,000, will go directly into our HVAC, our indoor air quality improvements. So there's a breakdown. Over the next 90 days, 120 days, we'll be finalizing this as Amy and Kelly work with the state to put that all through. And I can tell you, once the audit comes through on all of our ESSER money, it will take less than it'll be less than a half an hour. We'll be able to say here, 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 which is the way that we felt was the best way to operate this. And I know we've had discussions, I've had discussions with the board through this, and every so often we've provided an update, but we're in very good shape. That 792 will be utilized for some of our upcoming HVAC projects. Go ahead, Mike. Anything to add?
That is the bulk of that will be for Rich, to your earlier point about supply chain and delays. That's for the chiller at East that we were waiting on from last summer. That was just installed finalized in January, correct? Yeah, so in January. So now that we've spent the money, we will then seek the reimbursement through ESSER. Yep.
I just want to comment. I appreciate the transparency here. This is awesome for you to make this available for everybody to see where that money's gone. So thank you for doing that.
Any other questions? Okay.
All right, no other questions?
One last item.
Okay.
cheer teams, East state champions, West second place, Central fifth place. Absolutely incredible. Top 5 were from the Southwest Suburban Conference, so quite an accomplishment for our conference. We could have held state right here in our field house. But congratulations to all those student athletes. A remarkable weekend for the district down there, and they represented our district really well. So proud of those student athletes. And that's all.
All right. Yep, I was just gonna get to that. I guess I need to assign 2 people. All right, Beth and Chris, they're not here.
Yes, that's usually the way that works.
But are they gonna be here in time to review them? I mean, their
For the
terms
next
are up, so we got.
Yeah, because we'll have them approved next month.
Okay, so I will assign Beth and Chris to review the closed meeting minutes as their last acts, probably.
Very good.
And then we have the COVID mitigation plan.
No changes. Looks like in May it will be over, so.
Okay. All right, correspondence.
None at this time.
Okay, no closed session tonight?
Correct.
All right, with that, I would entertain a motion. Oh, is there any other business from the board? Nope. All right, hearing no other business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Oh, okay. All right, motion and a second. All right, Linda, open the vote. Great. All those in favor? Aye. All right. All right, thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.
Thanks, Joe.